I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your...
Hi, I'm Tier 3, and today we're going to be talking about Fallout 3. A lot of people think that Fallout 3 is an excellent game, and on its own, it is. But it should never have been called Fallout 3. Now, I know a lot of people are going to flame me for this, so let's just get my explanation out of the way. Fallout 1 and 2 had a much darker world to explore. Drugs, sex, violence, including, but not limited to prostitution, being a drug dealer, getting into porno films, and killing children if it suited you. There were some things Fallout 3 got right. In my opinion, though, it should have been called Fallout: The Wasteland Chronicles, or The Capital Wasteland Chronicles. Anyway, let's start with the things it got right. First thing it got right was VATS. VATS is it's amazing what they did with it. It allows you to pause a real-time combat situation and target specific parts of the enemy. Different parts are going to be harder to hit, obviously, because, the head's smaller than the torso, but you could also target the weapon, which is going to be exceptionally difficult depending on what they're using. They're using a knife, it's going to be really hard to target the weapon and shoot it out of their hand. But in the end, VATS is definitely a pro. Alright, moving on to the next thing that's a pro. Exploration. There are hours and hours and hours and hours, etc., 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 of exploration to do, but it can get pretty boring. Occasionally, you get the raiders or a Yao coming after you to try to tear your face off or blow you up or beat you to death with a crowbar or a wrench or whatever. And then there's the occasional Deathclaw, and that's just one of those run for your fucking life situations. Now, the exploration is great, but the landmass isn't that big. You can walk from one side to the other in a very short amount of time if you don't stop and get sidetracked by things, which admittedly is really hard. But there could have been a lot more done with it. I mean, come on, you get over by Rivet City, you swim across the water, and you see all these buildings, but you can't even get onto the beach. It's a little bit ridiculous. Not my idea of a free-form, free-roam game. They could have done something a bit more interesting with that. So the exploration as a whole is kind of a pro, but in the end, it ends with a con. So it's kind of on the flip side, in the middle. Okay, now moving on to the cons. Ooh, this is going to be my favorite part. So, Bethesda promised huge open world with hundreds of hours worth of gameplay. Well, in the end, Bethesda didn't quite deliver, at least not up to expectations. On top of that, they took an already proven to be good formula, and they changed it. They removed a lot of the stuff that, made Fallout 1 and 2 Fallout. The humor wasn't the same, the cultural references weren't the same, and yeah, I know I'm going to hear, oh, but the game was awesome, from so many people that probably never played the first two games. As I said before, Fallout 3 is a good game on its own. But again, back to my problems with this game. The characters do not have enough depth. The area is way too crowded. I mean, yeah, they wanted to make sure there was always something going on, but it's a wasteland. Come on. Okay, yeah, most things got vaporized during the war. Some other things I've heard other people complain about that I kind of have qualms with, kind of don't, is the abundance of computers. Yeah, some computers would probably survive, and some people even may have maintained them for a long time after the war. And they might even still have power. But there's a lot more computers in the Capital Wasteland than I would expect after, a nuclear war that devastated all of civilization as we know it. Or as they knew it, considering the timeline divergence that occurred back in the 1950s. But that's a completely different story. So, there's that. And then there's the fact that, I don't know, the children are invincible. Now, I wasn't a big fan of killing the kids in Fallout 1 and 2, but the makers went for a realism of sorts in the sense that if a kid runs into the middle of a firefight, or in between you and a monster that's trying to attack you, there's always a chance that kid's going to get hit and killed. Another thing they removed was the vulnerable main storyline NPCs. Now, there's only one invincible NPC I can think of in any of the Fallouts, and that was the Overseer. Other than that, you could kill anyone, even if it broke the story. You couldn't actually break Fallout 1 and 2 by doing that, but you would halt any story progression. And I thought that was a lot better, because then the player had to live with the consequence of going, ah, crap, I can't beat the game now. Now, I understand Bethesda wanting to not have killable children. Okay, it's politically incorrect, and they were gonna get a lot of flack for it in the end if they did it. But I mean, really, they promised the old school fans, consider myself part of that class, that it would be like the other Fallouts, just with a new look. And not only did we get a new look, but we got a gutted story and world, pretty much. You can beat the main storyline in just a few hours. And in the other games, it would take upwards of 20 hours if you actually did everything you were supposed to instead of skipping around, which was possible in that game. And yes, you can skip around in Fallout 3. In the end, Fallout 3, in my opinion, okay game, should not have been called Fallout 3, and Bethesda needs to release a lot more content to make it worthy of the title of Fallout 3. But in the end, my opinion doesn't fucking matter. Make your own goddamn opinion, and if you agree with me, cool. If you don't, fine. If you want to get a hold of me, you know my gamer tag. So, have a good day, and have fun.
Hey everybody, did the news get around about a guy named Butcher Pete? Old Pete just flew into this town and he's chopping up all the women's meat.
He's hacking and whacking and smacking. He's hacking and whacking and smacking. He's hacking and whacking and smacking. He just hack, whack, chopping that meat.
Butcher Pete's got a long, sharp knife. He starts chopping and don't know when to stop. All you fellas better watch your wives, 'cause Pete don't care whose meat he chops.
He's hacking and whacking and smacking. He's hacking and whacking and smacking. He's hacking and whacking and smacking.
Hey, now.
Hack, whack, chopping that meat.
Ever since Pete flew into town, he's been having a ball. Just cutting and chopping for miles around. Single women, married women, old maids and all.
He's hacking and whacking and smacking.
Oh, Pete,
Hacking and whacking
he
and smacking.
loves that meat.
Hacking and whacking and smacking. He just hack, whack, chopping that meat.
Wakes up in the morning, 5:30. Chopped from sunrise to sunset.